What's up, everybody? So I'm going to tell you guys a story now of Cartagena, my journeys to Cartagena in Colombia, which is on the north coast near the Caribbean. So I just read this through once, always just read it through once, and then I'm just going to kind of give you guys the one take as it always is, because who has time for video editing? So Cartagena, Colombia. I arrived in Cartagena after the longest travel period of my life to the welcoming and loving smiles of Kit, Jared, Jenny, Caleb, Kyle, Raya, and Zach. I was so thrilled to see familiar faces on the other side of the world. Moments after I arrived, the group bombarded me with the food cooking competition we were all going to do. The food competition I'll explain kind of as we go through this whole blog post, but basically each group had to cook a meal for each night that we were in this penthouse in the north side of Cartagena, overlooking the ocean, which was an amazing place that Jared and Kit found. Totally in debt to them for finding that amazing location. And then we had this huge kitchen that we cooked all these meals from. So each team was required to make a dinner for the others, and the last night we would cast a vote to see who would win, engage, and obviously get the bragging rights. So we ran to the grocery store. Caleb, Raya, and Jared cooked the first meal. They made a vegetable soup with quinoa, risotto, and papaya. I must say it was quite something. I realized then that if we wanted to win, Kit, Zach, and I would have to pull all the stops. Side note, so I got to the actual Cartagena, got out of the airplane, got to the airport taxi place, got on the taxi, got to the penthouse, and was really excited to see my friends that I hadn't seen in a long time. And the first thing, they basically come down the elevator, all welcoming me, and they go, all right, we're going on a 5-day trip up north to San Blas on a cruise, like on these little boats up to the San Blas Islands. And I was sitting there going like, no, that's not the plan. My plan was to stay here for a week and then go back down south. And they basically, with their genuine raw energy and enthusiasm, basically squashed every belief I had that I was going back south. And I ended up changing the entire course of the rest of my trip, which, I mean, as you guys will see, was amazing, and such a cool experience to have such amazing friends to really just drive me through that. But yeah, it was the first conversation I had with them. They got there and they were like, we're going on this trip, and I was like, are we now? I guess I kind of got signed up for that. So anyways, that was just a side note. So each night for dinner, we enjoyed the sweet patios on the 20th floor, and we had endless Cuban cigars that Kit, Jared, and Jenny had bought down from Cuba from what they said in this book, $3 for a 25 pack, which is crazy. And it was the first time I had kind of properly smoked Cuban cigars. And by the end of the first 6 hours with everyone, I felt back at home and came to the realization that these friends of mine weren't your average friends. They inspired me to make the right decisions, live my life, and strive constantly to be a better person. And that is so true. I wrote that years ago, and they're still my closest friends, and I hope you guys are watching this because you guys do truly mean the world to me. In every way, shape, or form, this world is ours to have and love and be a part of. And so later that night, Caleb and I went out for a walk, and I got a chance to chat with him for hours about his summer and where he wants to be heading. And it was so touching to be able to have such a profound conversation with one of my greatest friends after being disconnected from him for over a year. Yet here we were sitting outside the Hilton on the beach in Colombia. And it was then I realized that only 3 years earlier I met a friend of a lifetime in the halls of SFU that had changed my life with his charisma and contagious energy. And for those of you who don't believe that I wrote that, I definitely wrote that. It all says it there. Caleb, man, you're an absolute fucking legend. Even last night I was hanging out with you at your birthday party, and I just wanted to say you're a dope dude. But back to the travel stories. Day 2 with the gang, we went to town and finalized the Panama cruise and experienced what was probably the worst sales pitch ever by the worst saleswoman ever. The more Katie talked, the less I wanted to buy this trip. She didn't ask us once what our needs were, and for a matter of fact, she didn't even ask us anything. She just told, and demanded our attention. We finally got ourselves out of there and split up into the groups for the afternoon, and Kit and Jenny and I headed off to explore the old city and got some great Greek food for lunch. But more importantly, we had a great opportunity to catch up and talk about our lives and how we felt about our situations at the moment. I had been over it had been over a year since Kit and I had had a chance to talk, and it was so amazing to spend, again, another great spent chunk of time with an amazing person the whole afternoon, and just be the whole afternoon with a great friend and a fantastic role model, and a role model couple in Jenny and Kit. It was here in Cartagena that I realized, talking to Kit, how difficult and scary life was when you had no plan. It's not like you need to have a plan for your whole life, but it was when I listened to Kit and reread Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker. It's about planning the next 18 months, knowing and learning your strengths and working towards that success. And that's really all you can really ask for yourself. So that night we decided to postpone the cooking challenge and head downtown for dinners and drinks. And after dinners and drinks, we ended up, bouncing around to a bunch of clubs, and that was when everybody started taking Colombian blow. And after about an hour and a half, I fell for the peer pressure and I joined in the fun for the first time. And after this experience, I gained even more respect for Kit as he showed me the ropes of how to do it responsibly as much as possible. It's something that you have to learn how to do, is, challenge the boundaries and really experience new things. So eventually the night turned into a hunt for the space bar, and after hours of looking for this club, it ended up being an absolute bust and a complete waste. And so I'm just going to completely fast forward this part of the section. So after getting up the next day around 1, we took it slow and smoked a couple more Cuban cigars because we had all these Cuban cigars to smoke, and eventually went down to the local beach and enjoyed some cervezas, virgin margaritas, and some very warm ocean water. From the beach, Kid and I headed to the grocery store to get our ingredients for our competition meal, and we decided to cook a South American-inspired meal: fried cucumber with salt and pepper, spicy chicken corn salad, and stuffed peppers, finishing off with a banana split. The meal was absolutely delicious, but it took a terribly long time and effort to put together. And it was after this meal I gained a huge amount of respect for professional cooks and anyone who works in the restaurant business. The chaos of trying to do it all was exhausting, so we decided to take it easy for the rest of the night and enjoy the fantastic view we had from our flat. The next day we headed down to find something touristy to do and headed to town to get our funds prepared for sandblast, because we had to get all these deposits and cash made and all this cash for this trip that we were going to have. So we decided to go to the volcano mud baths after Kit and Jared, I believe, negotiated this thing down, like way down, to the point where it was only $25 Canadian per person for an adventure that usually costs about $100 for the adventure back home. The sensation I felt in the mud baths was like nothing I've ever experienced. You float like liquid gracefully without giving an effort, and giving effort made you sink or even stand. You really couldn't even do any of those things. You had to try to sink or try to stand. And I imagine this is what it would feel like to be in space, or at least the closest thing I've experienced to it. This makes me wonder and dream that one day I'll feel what it truly feels like to float through space, because one day I'll get there. 7 continents and the moon are the areas of my world I'd like to be. After the surreal experience of the mud baths, we started the journey back to Cartagena, playing chess as we went. I played Caleb and brought him to a stalemate. This marked the first time I've ever won a game of chess against another human in my life. I never thought all the games I was playing on my cell phone as I was coming to meet these guys would ever have helped me defeat my closest friend. That afternoon, we headed off to town and exchanged our pesos for USDs, draining 2 banks of their USDs and asking for $2,000 plus per person in US dollars. That night, Kyle, Nico, and Jenny cooked us a bacon-wrapped cream cheese bread, shrimp pasta, salad, and apples with cream cheese caramel score dip for dessert. After the meal, we voted for the winners, and Kit, Zach, and I were deemed winners by a vote of 4 Jenny, 0 Jared, and 5 for us. And I think that puts to a note, because I remember being there when we were casting the votes, and it just goes to show you how Caleb will love this, but it's the social complex of that evening. I mean, Jared's food was really, 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 really good, but I think it ended up just being the way that the whole evening and all of the evenings went. And I don't know, Kit and Zach and I kind of just sat silent in the corner until the votes were casted, and it was like, oh my god, we actually won this thing. It was hilarious, because I think everybody cooked amazing foods, and it really wasn't about the competition. It was about the friendship and camaraderie that, really spurred and was rooted and founded in that apartment in Cartagena. So this marked the end of our fantastic 4 days in Cartagena with 7 fantastic people and some of my closest friends. Not once did I regret making the 48-hour travel to see such wonderful and inspiring and genuine people. So that's a quick story on Cartagena. The traveling journey of 48 hours was a 48-hour travel journey from Banos to Cartagena. I took 36 hours on a bus, the first bus, and then 8 hours on the second bus, and then it was a quick flight up from Bogota to Cartagena. And the whole bus ride, and we were on these Greyhound buses and on dirt roads, winding in and out through stuff, going through potholes, and it was just like an experience and a half. So I just really wanted to share that story with you guys and express how awesome and that whole life experience was for me in Cartagena. We didn't really get up to too many crazy adventures like we did in Banos, but it really helped me root myself and connect with some people in this world that are genuinely just trying to do their best to make the world a better place, and that's all we're all here to do. So I appreciate your guys' time watching this video, and I really hope you guys are having a great time. Catch you guys later.